All right, our product list page is looking fantastic. We've got all these products that's showing up and we've got a lot of things going on here. But one page, quote, page does not an application make. In other words, there's no navigation. We don't have a welcome page. We don't have anything else, nor do we really have we tackled ways to create links to other pages. And what I mean by that is, if you remember that our application is made up of index.html. And so we said that we're going to be putting or plopping in components into our single index.html page. But to our users, it's going to look like there's lots of pages. But in actuality, our lots of pages are really us using index.html and plopping in various components. So how do we make that work with a link? And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to create a navigation between a welcome page and our product list page. If you look in our source code, in our source under home, you'll see that there is a welcome component HTML page that's created and a welcome component that was created. You'll also notice that there are no selectors, which is unusual, but okay. So let's see how we're going to implement this. So the idea now is that we're going to create a navigation between this welcome page and our product list page. So that's where we're headed here on this video. We're going to use what's called routing, routing, routing. So let's see how this works. Remember, I want to bring your attention to where we started. So we have this app module. All of our application is created from a module. And we have components that make up our module. Our module owns components. And when our application first loads, we have this selector, directive is the correct word, selector from the component, directive, I think that's right. Now I get myself tied up on words sometimes. Anyway, this is where we're going to, the component is going to put itself. It's going to plop here in the component, app component HTML, and that's what's displaying on our index.html page. So we're going to get a little bold now, and I'm going to delete the PM products directive here. And I've already created some navigation, so I'm just going to paste that in here. If you want to put the video on pause and copy that in, that's what it looks like. So it's just a basic navigation. It's using some Bootstrap to style it. And when you're finished then, when you save that and you run your page, then we're getting a nothing is working correct. We're getting some links. We're getting the navigation, but again, it's not working. So how do we route these requests, these links to a component is really what we're up to here. So let's look and see how that's accomplished. So I have my app module up. I have my app component.ts file up and my app component.html, which is where I've pasted this navigation. So when we are, well, let's see, we'll start with the, I guess we really don't need the app component now. So I just need these two. All right, so in my app module, I'm going to import something that we haven't used yet called router module. And we get this from Angular Angular router. Okay, and so like we've done before, we're going to go into our imports, which is our third party, our outside libraries, and we're going to import in router module. But now we're going to do a little something different that we haven't done before, and that is I'm going to put a period on the end of this, and we're going to utilize something we haven't done before, which is for root. And this is going to be a method that I'm going to send an array of objects to. So the idea behind this is we're going to create a route, or in terms we understand at this point, some kind of navigation or links that's available at the module level. In other words, these paths, this route that I'm going to create is for all of my components. So I'm not making this route specific to a individual component. This is from the root level, from the Angular, the app module level. Boy, there's so many words to keep straight. Okay, so in this module, in this array, I'm going to create some objects. And these objects are our paths, or where we want to route our components to. Let me just type it out so maybe it'll make more sense. I'm going to type in path products, and then I'm going to define a component that is related to products, and that component is the product list component we created, product list component. I'm also going to create one for the welcome page, path welcome. And sometimes those aren't helpful when I'm trying to create a video. Pop-ups don't help me. Component, and that would be the welcome component. Okay, and so when I typed in welcome component, also remember that we need to bring in the welcome component, so I need to put that into my declaration. So I'm going to add that welcome component, and it looks like welcome component also got imported in our import statements up above. So now I've got the welcome component, I've got the router module, and then I've defined two paths. I'm going to define two more, which I will explain as I go along here. So I'm going to create one that is empty string, and that's a redirect to what I defined above, which is welcome. I will explain this in a minute. Let me get my typing done first, because I can't talk and type very well. It's hard enough just to type. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy this and put it at the end here, and we're going to say, instead of path, I'm going to put asterisk. Okay, so let me come back to this explanation here. I think it's easier just to show it rather than explain it. So let's type it all in first, and then we'll show what's happening. All right, so back to my component HTML. I've simply defined components that will be what my link will equate to. In other words, if the user types in products in my URL, this is the component that I want to be displayed. If the word welcome is at my URL, then welcome component is the component that I want displayed. So let's kind of update our nav list accordingly. So we're no longer going to use these hrefs. What we're going to use instead is what's called router link. So I'm going to get rid of these, and we're going to use router link. And router link is going to take a array of strings, because outside of what we're going to do in this class, it could, or in this video, it could take parameters. In other words, some extra arguments at the end of our URL for a GET request, for example. But right now we're just going to do one simple URL, and I'm going to put here welcome. And I don't need the period. So, okay. And then we're going to do the same thing then for our product. So this is going to be products, D-U-C-T-S. Okay. And so recognize that the words that are in here match the words I defined as the path. So path is, if you look at your browser now, path is what's in the URL. So I've defined the word welcome. Welcome is what's showing up in the URL. And so welcome is going to display the welcome component, which it's not doing yet because we haven't added that final piece. If I click on product list, you'll see the URL changes to product list, to products, which is what we typed in here, which is what's in here. So these are linking up. If I just hard code in the word welcome, it should do the same thing. And there it is. So what is these last two? Well, the last two says if the user doesn't type anything into the path, in other words, if this is an empty string, then it's going to default to the welcome. That's what this is showing. Redirect to the path we described above, which is called welcome. And this last one says if they type in something that isn't defined, like if the user typed in dog here, for example, well, dog isn't defined, so that's like a page 404 kind of redirect. Anyway, in our case, it's being redirected back to the welcome path. All right, so the last bit of our code then is, well, that's all great, but our components aren't being displayed. Well, the reason why they aren't being displayed is we haven't really told this HTML template where to put the component that we're associating with that path. So what we're going to use for that is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to type in router-outlet. So router-outlet. dash outlet. And this defines where that component is going to be plopped to. So when the user types in welcome, we want the welcome component to be plopped in this space. And if products is in the URL, plop in product. So now if you look at your page, our routing should be in place, where if looks like I have the default, if it was empty, it gets redirected to welcome. You can see welcome here, as well as our welcome page is being displayed. If I click on the product list, products is what's updated here, and then our products list is being displayed. So now we have seen how to effectively make routes. So to the user, it appears like there's more than one page, but you and I both know that it is just an index.html in which different components are being placed.